Hello, friends, and welcome to the Cinemondo podcast with Kathy, Mark, and Grogu. Talking about movies, movie trailers, TV shows, series, limited series, mini series, maxi series,
And
and
this one is this is a 8 episode, so that's a limited series. But
sort of
that's
a
kind of like
MIDI
MIDI,
series.
That's in the Mandalorian zone.
Yeah,
absolutely. And it's another Star Wars series that's on Disney Plus. I mean, they've had of course, and this is by the same people that brought us the Mandalorian, which has been such a huge hit.
Is Pedro Pascal in this?
He's not.
No.
Okay.
No,
I'm not watching it. I'm just okay.
But it's
barely in it anyway.
As Rosario Dawson, she's
Rosario Dawson.
She's not nothing.
Ahsoka.
Nothing. Yeah, and that's the name of the show, Ahsoka.
She's not nothing.
She's not nothing.
Ahsoka, not nothing.
And Jon
Ahsoka.
Favreau and Dave Filoni, who are behind The Mandalorian, are behind this one. So it's going to be, there's been some varying qualities in the Star Wars shows. I think, I love The Mandalorian. I'll speak for myself. I loved Andor. I thought that was fantastic.
Andor is my favorite.
Yeah.
Book of Boba Fett was much lower to me. It was just okay. And then I only watched one episode of Obi-Wan because you guys said it was so terrible. I just passed on it.
It was bad. I'm sorry, Star Wars fans, but that just sucked. Also, but I think the deciding factor in a lot of these is Favreau, even though Gilroy was in charge of
Andor.
Andor was good.
Andor, but that kind of followed because that movie felt very different from the rest of Star Wars also. So it didn't have that sense of humor, and it was a little grittier and just more action based, which I loved. And so that it stands on its own. But I think Favreau's the deciding factor, and if it's really in that new zone of great Star Wars stuff. I'm probably gonna get completely flamed for all this, but that's my opinion. An honest opinion.
He knows, the guy knows what he's doing. He makes good stuff. I mean, who made the first of the sort of modern era Marvel cinematic universe films with the? He did that first Iron Man movie, which really set the tone for something that turned into a gigantic
started
empire.
This.
Yeah.
And if you watch that first Iron Man, I'll just digress for a second. It's a little bit smaller. It has almost like an I want to say independent feel to it. It had this sort of like its own thing, but he followed the Marvel comic to the T, even with the old Iron Man suit and stuff and all that.
How it got built.
I watched it going, this is the first real comic book movie. I mean, I know Spider-Man came before that, but it felt like a Marvel comic to me. Like it just
did.
Felt like it was. So anyway, he knows what he's doing, and he loves Star Wars, and he's bringing his love of Star Wars.
The fan
along with Dave Filoni. They worked well together. And Mandalorian, I remember watching that going, this feels like what I think Star Wars should be like to me.
Yeah.
And I think this is hopefully Ahsoka is the same thing. I'm imagining to be the same case. Rosario Dawson as the title character is a great cast. So I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be great.
I think too what Favreau brings, he brings that sense of humor. Like there's some self-referential humor. There's kind of some acknowledgement of where he's coming from, and he has a sincere affection for the material. So I feel like when I'm watching like something like Iron Man, I'm not like a super Marvel fanatic. I mean, I've seen all the movies, but I'm not like, oh, does it match the comics? I don't know. I never really read them. But he makes them really accessible and fun for people who don't know all of that stuff. And so that I think was his genius. So he basically kicked off this whole Marvel universe thing. I think almost single-handedly he brought that new feel to all those movies, the humor, the big colorful fun, and that's what sets them apart from DC also. DC's like
about him
a little like a bummer a little bit compared to Marvel. I'm just trolling right now, completely trolling. Okay, go ahead.
I've got my thing about Marvel versus DC, but I think the thing that he brings into it is, like you were saying, is the fans of those comic books can tell when somebody knows what what that's all about,
and really
knows and loves it and understands it. Because there's been so many superhero movies that they make them and they're like, well, we don't really want to commit to the idea of making it like the comics, so we're going to make something that we think might make more money and make it sort of like a Die Hard movie or something. And it's like, Die Hard's great, but it's not a Marvel comic. It's not a Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko kind of vibe.
Right.
And I think Jon Favreau loves that stuff in a way that you could, I mean, if you're a fan and you're watching the movies, you see things that other people aren't noticing, and you're like, yes, he gets it. And with the Star Wars stuff too, he's obviously a fan of not just the trappings of Star Wars, and he doesn't just make his own thing and stick an R2-D2 in it. It's actually Star Wars. It actually has the feel of Star Wars universe, and you feel like he gets it, he understands it, he knows why it's popular, he knows why people love it, and he's not doing ridiculous sort of gratuitous fan service. It's all. It all comes from a good place in his heart, I think.
Exactly. And even like makes little dreams come true. Like in the latest episode of Mandalorian, we have a new bar, and it was full of robots, and they were all these robots from the different times of Star Wars. And it was like, oh my God, look, there's a blue one. Oh my God. It was just fun. And even the characters are kind of looking around going, all these old versions. And I love that because it was like a little fun. Like the idea that robots have their own bar was a great idea.
Do you know the story about the blue 3PO unit? The blue. Do you know that story?
Sure, I do.
No, it's an interesting story. There's a guy who unfortunately had a very bad illness, and he built prop replicas and replicas of the Star Wars characters, and he built a C-3PO, and he just sort of designed it was not C-3PO, it was like C something,
right? And
he got it electroplated or whatever they do in that blue color, and it was kind of his vibe, his idea, to do a blue protocol droid.
Oh, that's kind of a little call out. That's very cute.
So they put it in the film, but unfortunately the guy passed away before he got to see it in the film. So it's basically a tribute, like in memory of that guy. That
meta and cool and sentimental. Yeah. See, that's Favreau right there. Like little tiny stuff. Like I liked it just because I've seen different versions. I thought I've seen it. Now when you bring in the backstory, you're like, oh my God. So you went out into the fan universe and pulled that in. Beautiful.
He's watching the fan universe. He's aware of the fan universe.
Yeah. He is the fan universe.
Not just the fan universe, but the sort of deep dive fan universe, which goes into the prop replica people, which is a massive rabbit hole of nerdiness.
This trailer has got a lot to live up to.
Well, but speaking of which, I have, I've shown off my lightsaber collection, right? I'm going to show the new one. This is a really cool one. This is like,
wait a minute.
Did I get ripped off?
What is that?
This is like $500.
But if you lose power, that's the one that's going to help you.
That's
true. Yeah.
I just want to mention briefly who else is in this. Hayden Christensen is going to be playing Anakin, cool. So he's in this. Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who is the wife of Obi-Wan Kenobi in real life, she plays Hera Syndulla, and Ray Stevenson, who was in RRR. He played the bad, the English general. He's in this too.
The guy who everyone's booing the minute he came on screen.
Did that great move in the truck that flips or whatever. Anyway, it looks. I mean, I can't wait to see the trailer because I'm looking forward to this one because good people behind it, and it's Star Wars. So what's not to love?
Should we use the most commonly used phrase on YouTube and say, "Without further ado"?
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Yeah. Okay. Without further ado, it's probably the most commonly used phrase on YouTube. Yeah.
There. See, you're learning so much in this episode.
There you go. All right.
Except for maybe the other one is, "Hi guys." That's the other one.
I do that one too.
Right. Okay. Okay. Here we go. Ready?
Yep.
Something's coming. Something dark. I sense it.
This is a new beginning. For some, war. For others, power.
Things have changed. I started hearing whispers about Thrawn's return as heir to the Empire. We have to prepare for the worst. The Jedi fell a long time ago. There aren't many left.
Perhaps it is time to begin again.
Looks kind of cool.
Darwin likes it.
Yeah, you can hear that. Sorry.
I like dogs. I like dogs being in it. He has an opinion. You know, I like that it's dark. I didn't expect it to be dark because the character was in one of the lighter, kind of technically lighter episodes in Mandalorian, and it was kind of goofy in a way. And then this really like getting a little more in Andor territory, which I really liked.
Yeah,
the Clone Wars stuff that her character was a part of was sort of dark. You know, that was, she was a, you know, warrior kind of during the Clone Wars and all that kind of stuff. So it's a bit heavy.
And there was some overlap in some other episodes. I know there are a few characters we've seen in like Andor. There was, you know, you're starting to see some overlap of the universes, which I really like because it's starting to feel like this big family in a way. Like you're starting to realize without being told, like, oh, that's this woman is, because you recognize the actress, and then you're starting to recognize all these people around. I thought that was very, very cool.
But the timeline for this is the timeline of the Mandalorian, basically, right? I mean, is that what we're saying? And sort of Return of the Jedi, that kind of timeline, is that where we're at?
Yeah, where are we in the time?
Where are we on
I think it's supposed to be with the Mandalorians, but I mean, obviously she was in one of those episodes, so it would make sense that it would be the same timeline. But I sometimes I get confused by that, to be honest with you. Like, where are we? Before, after, you know,
the Battle of Yavin.
Yes, the Battle of Yavin, BBY.
Right.
So but she lived from 20 to 36 BBY. Ahsoka. So there you go. It's somewhere in there.
Right.
But it looks good. I mean, you know, it was like, it looks more of the same, which is only good. It looks dark, and I like all of a sudden I like this guy Ray Stevenson as the badass. He just has that look.
I know.
Of like, you know, being a guy with the red you know, lightsaber.
Yeah.
Like, he's a bad guy.
And he has that perfect look. He looks very dignified. He has the perfect hair and beard, and he's just like
right.
Very, very
cool. Cool. Do we have some posters to take a look at?
We have a poster. Okay, there's only one poster official. They keep a pretty tight rein on Star Wars stuff at this point, but we just have this big, beautiful close up. You really don't need much else because she has such trademark looking styling and attributes. So you're seeing the headdress. I don't know if that's actually her actual ears or something. I'm not quite sure what happens there, but she has beautiful eyes and all the markings on her face. I mean, honestly, you can't get better than that, really.
Yeah.
And if you know the character, you immediately recognize her.
Yeah. That's
she's got that attitude.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
The colors of it. It's gorgeous. Yeah.
Wouldn't it be cool to star in something like for Star Wars and then get a poster like that? Your big old face looking amazing. Oh my God. Just that's it. That's all you need. I would love that. Oh my God. It'd be so cool.
I would be mortified if there was a big poster of me.
No.
No.
Put this in front of Mark. Oh, who is that? What?
Okay. Ahsoka is coming in August. So
Mark has to sign off before he starts crying. We're leaving now. It was so mean to me.
Yeah.
I know. I'm learning a lot about Star Wars these days because there's so much content, and I feel like it's making me want to go back and watch all the original movies again. I want to get like more up to speed because it's been years since I've seen some of these movies, and I haven't really kept up. So getting this has been a new education in Star Wars again. So that's why I'm a little
I still love the old ones, the three old ones, the ones that that blew my little mind when I was a youngster. The first Star Wars film, Star Wars, when it first came out, it was just called Star Wars. And I remember going to see it again when they re-released it, and it was suddenly called Star Wars Episode, 447, a New Hope or whatever.
Yeah.
And I felt like, no, that was episode 1,
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Quick quiz before we sign off. Favorite Star Wars movie? Go.
I think the first one for me.
Star Wars, A New Hope is what, that's what the kids call it.
That's what
Star Wars
it was for me. It was just Star Wars, and then the second one and the third one. The whole trilogy was great. But
I think Empire Strikes Back for me, just because I felt like it kind of went into a little bit more of it. Like the first one felt kind of low budget. The themes are kind of showing, but it seemed very cute. It seemed kind of young now. But the second one, I feel like they broadened it. It got kind of bigger budget and it felt a little more serious and there's more at stake. So I think, it's either that or it's the first one, because the first one has the original.
For me, the first one, I saw it opening night, first row.
Yeah,
I'm 16 years old, and the first shot of like you see the first ship, and then you see the Imperial starship, and it's like it blew me away because it was like 10 times as big. It took up the whole screen, and I knew I was into something brand new that I've never seen before, and I was just
I remember goosebumps. I remember feeling like this is going to be so cool. I remember seeing the pictures from the film in, I think, Time magazine or something before it came out, and just the production design and some of the reproductions of some of those Ralph McQuarrie paintings, the pre-production paintings, and the design of it. I think that's what I've always been into, design and production design and props and things like that. And for me, I've always talked about my lightsabers. Got actual ones here, like this is Luke Skywalker's, and the idea that these props were made out of found objects, kind of that junkyard aesthetic that I've always liked with certain shows and things, where you and Star Wars, interestingly enough, has carried that tradition on even when they don't have to. Star Wars stuff can now afford to build, props from scratch, but they still use found objects sometimes, because fans have so much fun trying to figure out. It's like, oh, on Luke Skywalker's lightsaber, those are from a calculator right there.
See, I love that sort of found object kind of mentality. Even if it isn't, it looks like it has that kind of look. It still keeps that flavor, and everything being very analog in a way for Star Wars. I think
it looks like a real thing.
Yes,
that's what it looks like. Oh, that's something that in my brain goes, that's kind of actually something that I could actually find.
Understand.
It's in my world. Yeah. All right. So
my favorite, I have to show one more thing. One of my favorites is on Obi-Wan Kenobi's lightsaber. The bottom part of it is a faucet handle, and it actually has a H on there for hot water.
So funny.
And
I love
there's
that.
some other one, it's got red for hot, and there's another version of it that you can get that has a C on it with a blue ring.
That's cool.
That is actually a faucet turner.
Hilarious.
That
one makes it great.
I know, it's what makes it great.
Awesome.
All
right, everybody. We'll see you soon. We can't wait for Ahsoka. We'll review it when it comes out later this summer. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.